Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. May Allah's peace and blessings be upon each one of us, our families, our communities, and the world. Let us begin with some breathing exercises. Remember that taking a conscious breath brings life to this very moment. Place your hand on your heart and let's begin with an intention. And then we will recite the first chapter of the Quran. الفاتحة اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. Welcome to our bi-weekly YouTube series, Cultivating Calm, Tools and Techniques, a Sufi Perspective. I am your host, Khalifa Rubina Ghoor Ansari from the Ansari Holistic Healing Institute. And if you have never seen any of our content or heard about AHHI, then this series will open up a new window into the world of healing from a Sufi perspective. This series will allow you to experience having a mentor in your healing journey. Our intention is to walk you through the processes and share tools and techniques to allow you to live in a life in a balanced and holistic way. Inshallah, God willing. We would like to build a community where we learn together and make a difference in our own lives as well as in our families, our communities, and the world, one person at a time. Please take note of the disclaimer. Whether you're looking for answers to your own healing journey or you would like to help others, or whether you are a healing practitioner or an avid student who would like to learn more about holistic healing from a Sufi perspective, this series is designed to empower you with knowledge and insights. You need to be the best version of yourselves. This is our goal, to help humanity live their best version. This is a commitment to your growth in a world that really needs healthy, happy, wealthy people who are guided to live with love, peace, and unity for goodness. Please click the subscribe button now and turn on notifications to join me every second week. Let's do this together, healing our world one person at a time, God willing. Today we are on episode 7 and we will be looking at sound and frequency healing with our very special guest, Shaykh Ibrahim Ansari. Shaykh Ibrahim Ansari Shaykh Ibrahim's spiritual journey began with a deep search for meaning and understanding, seeking answers to questions about suffering, human behavior, conflict, and the nature of God. His search led him through many spiritual traditions and philosophies before eventually finding his teacher, Shaykh Ansari, within the Ansari Qadri Rifaya Tariqa. Through years of study, reflection, and spiritual practice, Shaykh Ibrahim developed a deep understanding of Sufism as a path rooted in mercy, compassion, discipline, and inner growth. Alongside his spiritual journey, Shaykh Ibrahim has spent more than 6 decades as a musician, composer, performer, and recording artist. His lifelong relationship with sound discipline and creative expression has deeply informed his understanding of healing, awareness, and the human condition. His work continues to explore the relationship between spirituality, sound, ethics, and healing in a world deeply in need of compassion and inner balance. We are truly grateful to have him join us for today's session on sound and frequency healing. Welcome, Shaykh Ibrahim.
Well, assalamu alaikum. Nice to see you. Thank you very much for the invitation. And hello to everyone. May Allah be with you. Peace and blessings. So, Bismillah. First, blessings and gratitude for Sheikh Tanner and Shaykh Ibrahim Ansari for their guidance and patient instructions. And to you healers, you give your time, your study, and your special skills and effort to help make others feel better, perhaps even to curing them. It certainly has its ups and downs, yet you've chosen to make it part of your way of knowing Allah. I'm going to be reflecting on how to make healing part of your personal practice about knowing Allah. But first, a Nasruddin story. A neighbor came to Mullah Nasruddin complaining of a mysterious illness. The neighbor was deeply distraught and begged the mullah for a healing remedy. Nasruddin looked at his neighbor, studied them for a little bit, looked into their heart, and said, "Oh, I know just the cure. Bring me a shovel." The mullah led the neighbor outside to the edge of the town, to a place filled with overgrown wild bushes. He pointed at a large thorny plant with deep tangled roots and instructed the man to dig it up, boil the roots, and drink the bitter tea twice a day. The neighbor followed the instructions to the letter, and every day he drank the foul-tasting, nauseating brew, grimacing and enduring the terrible flavor. Now, amazingly, within a couple of weeks, the man's strength returned. His vitality improved, and his illness vanished entirely. Curious about how such a terrible plant could possess such magical properties, the neighbor returned to Mullah Nasruddin. "Mullah," the man exclaimed, "the plant you prescribed was so bitter it made my eyes water, but it cured me completely. What was the name of this miraculous healing plant?" Nasruddin smiled knowingly at the man and replied, "It doesn't have a special name. It's merely the most bitter weed I could find in the entire village." Confused, the neighbor asked, "If it was such a bitter weed, and it was just a weed, how did it heal me?" Nasruddin answered, "The cure is not in the magic of the plant, but in the bitterness your mind and body were willing to endure to get well. Sickness often requires a bitter remedy to break our complacency." So, we're going to look at sound and healing. So let's define our terms first. What is sound? Is it just what we hear? I'm going to approach this massive and incomplete subject as a composer, a Sufi, and a healer. And one of the greatest 20th century composers, Igor Stravinsky, said, "Ducks hear. It takes effort to listen." Now, today we're surrounded or have to clamp our ears into sounds and music all around us all the time. Once, the only way you could hear music was to go where it was being performed, where there were musicians. Now, because we swim in a sea of audiobooks and streaming everywhere, we hear an enormous amount of industrially made music, but also have lost the ability to listen what is taking place in its multiple dimensions. If sound is just a range of frequencies, what is music? We could call music painting or sculpting with sound. And some of the parts that make up music are things like harmony, melody, rhythm, phrasing, tempo, meter, texture, purpose, ensemble, instruments, form, audience, place, and a mood. And that's just a few of the elements that make up music. Sound, though, is the audio frequency our hearing detects, 20 to 20,000 cycles per second. The little hairs in our ears are tuned to that range of frequencies. Animals like dogs, dolphins, and bats hear a wider range. The reality is that the little smidge of frequencies that we hear is not the whole story. Astonishment starts when we discover that everything vibrates. It is what defines the physical world. It is just that our onboard sensory apparatus has specific limits of what it can detect. That is a major reason why we have built so many machines to translate different, invisible, unheard vibrations into perceivable ones. So now we measure things. In doing so, we've learned to perceive an incredible and amazing range of oscillations. As a matter of fact, this entire creation, the whole circus, is in a state of vibration always. Perhaps even all the way down to the idea that the entire universe is made up of primarily tiny little strings, buzzing away within every atom and within every quark. Frequency is the rate of that vibration. If it is in the range of sound, we call that pitch. And we might call it a note, like A or B or C. If it's light, we're going to call it a color, like red or blue. If it's a radio wave, it may be tuned to a station, including our smartphone or TV channel. And then this also goes up into gamma rays and X-rays, and every piece of matter, chunk, stone, tree, or squid is vibrating at its own frequency. Quantifiable, sometimes measurable. However, because of the limitations of our body and mind, there are frequencies that are more difficult to measure. Now, we run on electricity. It's what powers our heart, our brain, and our muscles. Even that energy is a frequency that is measurable. As a healer, you're aware of all this. Some of you access information through your hands, some through your heart, some visually, some hear words and phrases emanating from the client. And you're also gathering data from how the client speaks, specifically the use of pitch, phrasing, word choice, and reference point, their worldview. You're also picking up visual cues from body position, how they appear, their hair, their eyes, clothes, and breathing patterns. All these things, plus a tsunami of evidence, is streaming into your perceptions. This is the listening that takes effort. It takes years of practice and guidance to be able to get enough out of the way of yourself to achieve an impartial and objective sense portrait of another person. Now, you're probably already aware that we must first start with our own complex system, both the inner and the outer worlds, before we should even attempt to heal anyone. It is our first responsibility to know ourselves enough to understand our own capabilities and handicaps. One of the primary necessities in learning how to listen is to recognize that we have no power. Whatever energy we have is on loan to us, perhaps to see what we will do with it. We're responsible for not just its use, but also the intention behind the action. This is a critical state of listening awareness. The moment I think I can heal someone, I have already stepped into the big poop of ego, known as nefs in Sufism. Some might call it shirk, too, because you're imagining that you're God. But for whatever reason that I think I can heal, trouble's going to follow. The proper state to heal is one of quiet surrender, being present with your heart, and to always tune in and listening to your heart. We can't heal with force of will. The outcome of practicing through will is damage to your heart, as well as illness and the inevitable incapacity to continue. This means, of course, that you have to maintain a strict sense of cleanliness, purification, and basic discharging of the past healings that you've done. Many of our clients were healers themselves, but had not learned the vital and basic cleanup techniques that you do after healing. They had inadvertently observed their clients' illnesses and needed to be healed themselves. Having worked in this medium for many years, I hope you do not mind a little bit of advice. Where you are healing, that room has been absorbing vibrations for many years. It needs daily cleaning, sealing with candles, incense, meditation, or zikr. You also need to be saying your teacher, master, sheikh, or someone who looks after healers. If you're on your own, there is the danger of imagining that you are something special. You're not. You're providing a service that is needed, the same kind of services ants, worms, and fungi do to support an environment. But someone needs to make sure you don't get a big head, which is very easy in the wild west of misunderstood spirituality. The ability to heal is not a given. It can be easily withdrawn should one imagine that they have acquired this because they are spiritually advanced. This kind of imagining interferes with intention, poisoning the action until it is harming you and others rather than helping. If you have permission to heal given by Allah, then the proper diagnosis and procedure will follow. Now, as to healing with sound, once again, you've got to pay attention to the client and how they understand the world. It's not about you or what you know. This is approached as an opportunity, as a spiritual practice to learn about more how vibrations work. It's not about showing off your new Tibetan bowls or bells. First, you have to be quiet inside. You have to listen to the patient. I mean, really listen. You can't do any kind of sound healing if you think you already know something. Clear your mind, listen with your heart. Second, once you are clear, you help them relax by matching your breath with theirs, helping to slow down their heart rate, supporting them to feel comfortable. Speak slowly. Watch for any swallowing indicating a change in the mental state. Take slow, deep breaths as an example of how to breathe properly. Should you play ambient, relaxing music? I hate it. I've composed a lot of that music, and when I want to relax, I much prefer the sounds of nature, like rain, bird calls, ocean, and streams. In Australian indigenous lore, they say that the sounds of birds are considered sterilizing of the toxins that people bring into the bush, and why people feel better when they're around birds. So creating the right environment is invigorating to anyone who enters. Now, we're around electronics so much that grounding and organic life is needed just to begin any kind of rebalancing. So plants, blossom smells, and a simple quiet calm can create a needed restorative essence. I never know what kind of information I am going to receive from someone. I do know that I am obligated to be familiar with my own boundaries and nefs. There needs to be an ongoing filtering of what is me and what is not me. I very often feel what the person is feeling, maybe even become teary or pained or have some deep sorrow. But I notice and I do not react. My reactions are mine, The feelings are not mine. I'm syncing up with another person's deep emotions. Listening with your heart sometimes is enough for some problems. The healing happens when you are sufficiently out of the way to be able to allow the other person to hear themselves. When this first happened to me, I was astonished. I kept saying I didn't do anything, but there they are crying about how it all makes sense and how they got so much out of it. And that was very deep learning for me. I learned that what is important is to understand what is needed in that specific time and place and person. The ability to listen to the heart, to the voice of the patient and your voice, and how it is being heard by the patient is all part of sound and healing. If it is heart-based, everything is going to follow appropriately. If you're on your own and do not have an instructor, guide, or sheikh, I suggest you acquire one immediately. You need to be accountable and responsible for your words and actions. This makes you creditable and trustworthy. It also keeps you aware that you are not alone and to know someone has your back. If you do use any auditory implements or instruments, understand that that is exactly what they are. Instruments to do Allah's work, not yours. It may be that what this one person needs to relate to releasing energies that are impacting their ability to balance healthfully could be something completely different. They may need to walk in nature or cry or yell or do something physically challenging. Who knows what they're going to need until you get out of the way and listen to what your heart and not your imagination says. In your listening, you will need to determine if the patient has been affected by outer energies or if there's an internal problem, psychological, emotional, physical, or spiritual. Their voice carries an enormous amount of information. Learning how to listen to the phrasing, the choice of words, the pitch, and cadencing, meaning how do they end a sentence, how do they use timing in their words, will guide you to a proper diagnosis. This does not mean you should trust their words. It means listen to the language going on behind the words. The truth will be in their eyes, their body shape, and their silences. Silences can speak a lot more than just words. Their words are representing who they want to be and who they want you to see who they are. The truth is what is behind that. Your voice can heal when you accept that you are Allah's mercy on sight. You represent him, her, she, them. You need to be listening to your inner world, to your heart first. As for all the information coming out about resonance and frequency, please be suspect and wary. Look for verifiable evidence that this works or not. Test it. Do not be taken in by internet slop and fuzzy thinking. Masters of every facet of teaching focus on creating how to do more by doing less. Beginners and amateurs create less doing more. Or in other words, the less you do, the more Allah can do through you. Thank you. Thank you, Khalifa Rubina. Are there any questions?
Yes, Shaykh Ibrahim, this has been a very beautiful explanation and a summary of actually how sound, what is sound, frequencies. I think with us, listening to you, we getting a feel of a very good, I would say, a deeper understanding and also a realization that sound doesn't just come from something that you listen to outside of you. And that was a very important point that you brought. There is a listening that needs to happen here. And as healers, you brought a lot of practical uh, I would say, methods or even guidelines of how we as healers need to listen, and also the attention we need to give to understanding that with every sound, with every word, with every presence, there is something that is being given off. So the understanding of also clearing our spaces between our clients. And the most important part that I really, really love is that knowing that we are not the one that is doing the healing. There is a higher one. And we know with the Ansari Holistic Healing Institute, we explain, and we also have a course that will help and guide people to understand that Allah is the one, Ya Shafi, the source of all healing. And that's when you will get most, I mean, your benefits will be there. Sheikh Ibrahim also was speaking about, the outcome or the result when people leave and they give such feedback that even the one who's been this vessel realizes, I mean, there's no way I could have done any of this. It doesn't, it's not making that sense. What could have I have done to create this type of outcome? So it's a beautiful example of how when we hand over, when we trust, when we listen deep within, then we see the results right in front of us, where people change and transform and healing happens. So, Sheikh Ibrahim, there's many questions with young people with regard to the different types of music. And is there such a thing as music also can harm one's frequency or harm one in terms of one's, can the calmness move out if one listens to music that is not beneficial for us? So, how would one define that? Because I know there's this electronic music and there's a whole lot of other things. I'm not very familiar with what's happening. I'm sure you are, but in terms of the range of music that is available right now in the world.
Yes. My suggestion would be listen to silence first and enjoy it, because then you can start to hear your heart that way. I think a lot of times we use music as a way of shutting out our ability to be intuitive and to be able to. We need to be quiet inside, especially as healers. If you put too much noise in there, that's all you're going to get back. Garbage in, garbage out, as they say. Also, going into nature and learning how nature takes care of itself through sound, I think is helpful. Listening to a stream. I mean, really listening to the bubbling and the gurgling of a stream. And depending on how big it is, sometimes you can hear a very low note going on underneath that. Sometimes you can hear rocks kind of hitting each other as they go by. But there is beauty and symphonic harmony in nature first. That is where we get everything else.
Thank you, Chef.
So,
That's very beautiful. I think that answers the question, because again, it's going back into what comes from Allah, right? And looking at this is, and we understand now that everything is has a sound, but we cannot hear it. So there is healing in all of that. And Chef mentioned about the birds as well. And I know there's a lot of research about the sound of the birds and what happens to the body when, or the mind when one is exposed to the sounds of birds. And also one can feel that. So listening to one's heart, going back to that, and then going into nature is, I think I'm also resonating with what you're sharing there, because I think that's again going to our natural state, isn't it? We all are created by the one. And if a stream is created by the one, the tree, the birds, and we, then there will always be that connection with that creation better than, I think, something that is so-called, I'm going to say man-made in inverted commas.
I think it's important to learn what music is and how it's made and how nobody really listens to it.
Mm.
Basically, there's a whole lot of things going on. For example, most of the music you listen to is in 4/4. It's kind of like walking down a very busy city street. All you see are right angles. It's all perpendicular. Everything is
Okay.
flat or straight or right angles. That's all the music that you listen to. There's some music that's in a triple meter, but it's a little bit more like the ocean waves. It's dum dum dum. So it has a more of an infinite kind of quality, and there's almost like breathing. So basically, there's the 4/4 2/4 duple time, which is like your heart beating, and then there's 3/4, which is kind of like your breathing. But then most other cultures have much more complex, more interesting rhythms, and we are so stuck in a very primitive, very simplistic, very childlike kind of music in popular music land. If you listen to Bach or Beethoven or Bulgarian music or Scottish or Russian or German or folk music or music from the Sahara, world music, it's a lot more interesting. It has a lot more things to listen to, but you first have to know how to listen. If you
Thank you
don't,
so
then you're
much.
just hearing it and you just, it's just kind of like wearing a quilt.
Beautiful. So, Chef Ibrahim, this is our last question because of the time that we have. We're looking at the recitation of Quran and dhikr and how that contributes to healing as well in your experience.
Yes. The idea that we're making patterns, first of all. We're creating patterns. In looking at Allah's names, for example, Allah's names are specific vibrations, they're a frequency, and just as a broad look at everything in the world, there are many cultures that use sacred names as part of their understanding of the universe and the frequencies that are related to them. The Quran and the names of Allah are wonderful and they work within that system. There are other systems and they work as well. Within Islam and within the Quran and within Sufism, the names are very powerful. They're medicinal. They're which would be called prophylactic. They do they can do a lot of healing, and each name has its own tone, its own frequency. I think of them as portals that can take you where they will. Each one is unique, and learning that vibration as well. And that also goes, if I may say, with the prophets and the saints. All to me are the same kind of element of vibration because their vibrations, like compositions from the time of Bach or Haydn or in any other culture, music from the past is like that. You can hear the music of these old composers as you can do Rabita with any of the prophets and the names and anything that's alive or that's been alive. These are all frequencies that are available, but you have to know what you're doing. You have to be able to clear away the difference between imagination and the actual evidence that's happening in your heart.
Thank you, Chef Ibrahim. This has really been absolutely informative and also transforming in many ways. As we know that information helps us to rethink and perhaps many times unlearn and then relearn, learning new learnings that come through. Thank you so much for availing yourself and for sharing. And we do, yes,
Yeah, I just want to say if anybody has questions, they can email you or they can email me directly at Shaykh
yeah.
Ibrahim at AnsariSufiOrder.org.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So you have that, and we'll have the link to Shaykh Ibrahim's email address on the YouTube at the bottom as well. So thank you so much, Shaykh Ibrahim. And with that, thank you to our viewers. Please let us know, how did the session go for you? What have you learned? And of course, share it. Please do share it. Whoever you think will benefit from this, and practice. See how it is that you can listen with your heart. And if you are interested in understanding and wanting to learn more about this, please join Ansari Healing. Look at the website ansarihealing.com. We have the beginner's course there that will share a lot of what Shaykh Ibrahim has shared with us. And yes, as a healer or even somebody who wants to learn about healing, this course would be a central tool and a basic foundation for your journey of healing. We also would like to let you know that the Ansari Holistic Healing Institute collaborates with Ansari Publications, and we formally endorse that this Quran edition is a primary tool for cultivating calm. It's called the Quran Daily Reading for All Humanity, translated by Shaykh Ibrahim Ansari. And we also have the Dua book, The Way of Supplication, where you can then look in and see how this helps us as a tool to calm and live in a way that we were meant to live, in peace and love and unity. Again, a reminder that the names of Allah are very beautiful and they're much alive in our being, and our body understands its language. If we have this affirmation that my body believes and experiences calm when I'm connected to Allah's names, and that brings peace and calm, my body is healing at all levels, and I am witness to this. Reflecting on your relationship with Allah through the different aspects of your being, you develop healthy habits, and that will help to take care of yourself, help you and your family and your community. As I reflect, practice, and live this experience, it becomes my reality, inshallah. Ameen. For our next episode, that will be episode 9. Please join us. We have silence and writing as our topic for cultivating calm, with our special guest, Rennie Sanders. So we're looking forward to seeing you. Thank you so much again for spending your time with us today. And we would like to close with our session, thanking Allah for His guidance and love. May Allah help us heal and be vessels for others to heal. Ya Shafi, Ya Nur. Ameen. Al-Fatiha. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين.